All right, so this is just going to be an intro to Blender video before we actually start doing the lab assignment slash project. So what you want to do is go to blender.org if you haven't installed it and just click on download Blender and then just install the appropriate version. You can see it's for PC, Mac, and Linux. And I believe they're making an iPad version as well, but that's neither here nor there. That's not quite yet. So once you do that, you're going to install it. You're going to open it up and it's going to look like this. What I want you to do is just go ahead and choose general. We're just going to do general to start with. That's just going to be the general 3D view. Um, over on the left is going to be your toolbar. This will be context sensitive. So you'll see like if I'm in this mode, it'll give me this. For the most part, you don't really need to use this. Blender is very hotkey heavy. Okay. On the top is your usual things. You'll see like file, save, um, export, all the things you would typically expect. Render doesn't have that much. Window, you can see there's not really too much in this section. After that are the tabs. So basically, each one of these are workspaces that are just like pre-prepared for you. So you can see this one's for layout, meaning putting all your elements in. This one is for modeling. This one is for doing sculpting. You can see how some of the interface changes for UVs, texture paint, so on and so forth. And you can add more if you want. Okay, you can see there's some other ones here depending on what you're doing, and you can also make like custom ones. You can add a custom one. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's go back to layout. So that's what those are for, and you'll go into those depending on what you're currently working on, right? Obviously, go to animation when you're doing animation. Um, so that's what you see up there. Up here, this little menu here will also be context sensitive. So the main thing you're gonna need to know is that if I click off and I click on the model, right? So just normal left click, I can switch the mode up here, and you can see there's different modes, right? So there's object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode, which was like sculpting, so on and so forth. The main two you're really going to need to know first is just object and edit mode. So object is just you grab it and you can just move the whole model object or grab this object and move it. Edit mode is when you have a model selected, it's going to allow you to basically do your modeling. So I can grab the individual components and do things with them. Um, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's edit mode. That's like when you're actually doing your modeling. You can do your inserting and extruding and all your different things. Okay, so that is edit mode. Now another way of doing it is just hitting tab will switch between modes. Between the last two modes that you used. So in our case, that'll just be always object and edit mode. So you can just hit the tab key. I might do that on accident. So notice that this menu changes depending on what mode you're in, okay? And that'll go for all the other modes as well. Like if I go to vertex paint, you see it's different. Actually change the interface down here. So that's just be prepared for that. Okay, so let's stick in object mode. Yeah, most of this is kind of irrelevant. You'll see some of the stuff we have to do when we have to like set things for the object. To add pieces of geometry, so I can add a mesh and do a circle, which isn't really all that helpful. Um, yeah. After that, you'll see this little menu here. This one is somewhat helpful. Global just means when I grab something, whether it is, so I'm going to show you, I'm going to rotate. If I grab something, if I'm on global, let's go into object mode and we'll hit 3. Um, when I go to move this and I hit like, let's say Z, notice that it's going up and down on the Z axis, right? But if I'm in, let's say, local mode and I hit Z, oops, sorry, I got to hit G first, G and Z, it's going to go according to the local orientation, okay? So global means the whole world, and then you'll see some other ones here as well. For the most part, you'll just typically use these two, but just leave it on global for now. That's fine. Just want you to know what that is. This is where the pivot point would be. So right now it's the median point. So if we have a bunch of objects selected, that'll be in the middle. So let's say we add components, it'll use the middle points. You could just leave it on that for now. This is snapping. So right now, if let's go back into object mode, if I turn snapping on, well, right now it's just on increment. So watch when I hit G, you'll see how it's snapping because it's snapping to specific points. There's other ones here. So like grid, if I want to do the grid specifically, you're going to see it's going to snap to the different intersections of the grid. And there's a bunch of other ones. So you can just turn it on with this And you can see there's other ones here. Some of them will be kind of useful, like face will be useful later on. This is like soft select. So proportional editing is what they call it. So the idea is if I grab, like, let's say I'm going to hit one, grab this. If I hit O, or you can click on it up here, when I go to move it, you see this little circle that pops up? I use my scroll wheel, and that will affect the fall off of how it affects everything else. Okay, so that could be useful for things as well. After that, over here, you'll see that these are basically things dealing with the view. Um, this is basically these viewport overlays here. Well, this is viewport overlays. This is what's visible. So if I want to turn, so I always see wireframes, things like that. If for some reason something's not showing up, it might be that it's checked off on this menu. We don't really need that. Oops, this is X-ray, so it makes it so it's semi see-through. Wireframe, flat shaded, material preview. Come on, turn on. There you go. And then render preview. Okay, so basically this has lighting. This has the materials like textures, and so it has like color and stuff. This will be like flat shaded, just the materials, and then wireframe. All right. For the most part, you can just leave it on flat shaded for now. You can also hit Shift Z. That will quickly switch to the wireframe. Um, and like I said, X-ray might find helpful as well. We will probably be using that. Underneath that is just like symmetry and stuff. So I'm gonna rotate you back just to so when we go into edit mode, you might want to make it so that you have like X symmetry. So if I move this, you'll see it'll move the other one the same. So obviously we have a character. They're usually on both sides. After that, you can see there's a gizmo here. This is basically a way of allowing us to see where we're navigating. Okay. So the Z axis is the up axis. So in some programs it's Y, and this one it is Z. Your Y axis is the front and back axis. So the way you want to do this is you see the negative Y, this was negative Y, positive Y. The character's face should be here, and the back would be here. Okay. And then the X is either side. Okay, so that's how we typically think of it. And you can click on these to snap to them. Um, but just be aware, these are ways of just manually, you can click and drag these in order to do your stuff here, but we don't really need to do that. Over here, this is the scene. Basically, this is the stuff that's in the scene. So if I add another model or more lights or what have you, images, they'll all show up in here. And it's just a way of kind of keeping things organized. It's an outliner, more or less. Over here, this is basically a panel that will tell you all about the thing that you have selected. So this will say, oh, it's a cube, the textures are attached, materials are attached, stuff about the shape node, the if there's modifiers, the transforms, all the business dealing with what you have here, as well as some other things. So like if I'm in sculpting, the tool options will be here. So if I go to rotate, you can see they're a little bit different. Well, that was scale. Rotate, so it'll be different depending on what tool you have selected. There's also uh, the rendering here, like the real-time rendering, and then also the output. So that's what these two represent. Never use view layer. Okay, anyway, so that's what you'll typically see is over here. Down here is the timeline. We're not going to need that for a long time, but that's obviously like the play controls and all things like that. All right, that's the general interface. I'm making this video kind of long. Sorry about that. The next thing is navigating. That's probably the next major thing. So to move and rotate and shift around the camera is you hold shift. I'm sorry, you just click on the middle mouse button. So you know you have your little wheel there. Just click that in, and then that's how you rotate like that. Okay. And so you just click and drag with your middle mouse button. To move, it's shift middle mouse button, and that'll allow you to move the camera around, right? So you want to get good at being able to basically go around the figure. To zoom in, you can just use your scrolly wheel, just scroll in. You can also do control and middle mouse button, but something about that just feels, I mean, the whole thing feels not, the navigation is a little weird to begin with, but that one in particular just feels very off. So um, that is how you move. So I would just, take a second, try to just navigate around, look around the cube, just so you get a feel for it. Okay. So that's how you do that. Now, the next most basic thing are your transforms. So meaning to move, rotate, and scale it. You can do this two different ways. They added this over here, which you might like if you have come from another app. You may appreciate these more. So basically you can go to move and it'll bring up this manipulator, and then you can grab based on the axes, or grab in the center. You always want to grab on axes to make sure you're snapping to an axis and not like moving it in all the dimensions. Um, then there's rotate, and that's your typical rotate. And then there is scale. If I grab in the middle, it will scale. Oops, come on. Well, maybe it won't. I don't know how to scale proportionately. Actually, I never use this. So, um, but that's what you have there. Okay, so that's what these are. The other way of doing it, the blender way, is to move. The hotkey is G, like grab. I know it's kind of dumb. So you hit G, and then it'll allow you to move. Okay. Now to G, and let's say I only want to move on X, I hit G, and then I hit X, and now it's constrained. I hit Z, sorry. G and X. Let's try that again. G and X, and that will constrain it on just the X axis. If I hit G and then Z, it'll only go up and down. If I hit G and then Y, it will only go back and forth. Okay. So that's how you constrain it. Let's say I want to constrain it on the X and Y. You hit G, and then I would hit Shift Z, the one I don't want to be on. And now I can move it this way. Okay. So um, you can also do something where I could do, let's say I want to move it over 3 units to the right. I could do G, X, and then type in 3, and then it will move it 3 units. So that will be useful for other things as well. All right. So that's move. The other ones are a little more obvious. R is rotate, but notice it's rotating based on my camera position. So it's rotating perpendicular to me. What I want to do is same as before. Let's say I want to rotate around this Y. I would hit G and then Y. Oops, sorry. R and then Y, and then I could rotate it only on the Y axis. Okay. And you can look at these colors. Green is Y, red is X, and Z is blue. So that might be helpful to you as well. And then, so that's rotate, and then scale is S. And most of the time when we scale, we want to scale proportionately. But obviously, if you do S and then X, you can scale this way. If I want to make something infinitely flat, I could do like S and Z and then type in 0, and you'll see I'll end up with a flat shape, right? That's not the way to do it. Don't do that. But um, that'll be helpful as well. All right. So that is the basic kind of interface. Inside, like I said, if I hit tab and I go into edit mode, you'll see there's some more modeling tools here. I wouldn't worry about what all of them do. Initially, we'll kind of do those as we go along. But that should give you a rough overview. Just go ahead and play around. Maybe try to make like a snowman. So you can go to add, and then you can add more objects here. Just use the mesh. Don't use these other ones because these are for like other things. You can also just hit Shift A, that's add, and then you can do like mesh, and then do like a UV sphere, and you'll see G and Z. There's my sphere, right? So maybe make like a snowman or something. Try to build something up. And just rotate, navigate, get a feel for the interface.